Good afternoon all. Today we are discussing about Holder's inequality. That is for a very sequence of scalars ai and sequence bi, and for one strictly less than p less than infinity. That is Holder's inequality may not hold for p equal to 1 and p equal to infinity. And we have modulus of sigma k equal to 1 to infinity modulus of ak bk is less than or equal to sigma k equal to 1 to infinity modulus of ak bk less than or equal to product of two terms. First term is summation over k equal to 1 to infinity modulus of ak raised to p whole raised to 1 by p into sigma k equal to 1 to infinity modulus of bk raised to q whole raised to 1 by q, where the p and q are connected in such a way that 1 by p plus 1 by q is equal to 1. And in your textbook, the range over the summation is not mentioned because this is true for infinite sum and also in the finite sum. But in the proof, we are proving for finite sum, and since it can be extended to infinite sum, this will be true for both finite and infinite sum. And the first part of the inequality, that is this modulus of sigma k equal to 1 to infinity ak bk is less than or equal to sigma k equal to 1 to infinity modulus of ak bk is very clear, since we know that modulus of a plus b is less than or equal to modulus of a plus modulus of b, and here this inequality is extended to the sum, finite sum or infinite sum. Now this is the proof. Since we know that 1 by p plus 1 by q is equal to 1, from that relation we can obtain two equations. First one is 1 by p minus 1 is equal to q minus 1, and p minus 1 into q equal to p, and it is very clear, and here I have given the explanation for that two equations. That is 1 by p is equal to 1 minus 1 by q, which is equal to q minus 1 by q, and thus we can obtain that 1 by p minus 1 is equal to q minus 1, also p equal to p minus 1 into q. Now to prove the inequality, we are taking two points, we can say like that, but because this ci and di are marking in two-dimensional plane. Now ci is equal to modulus of ai divided by sigma j equal to 1 to n modulus of aj raised to p whole raised to 1 by p, and di is equal to modulus of bi divided by sigma j equal to 1 to n modulus of bj raised to q whole raised to 1 by q. Note that both this summation are a finite sum, 1 to n, and this means that C1 means C1 is equal to modulus of A1 divided by sigma j equal to 1 to n modulus of aj raised to p whole raised to 1 by p, and C2 and C3 like that, and D1 D2 is also like that. Then sigma j I equal to 1 to n ci raised to p, which means sigma I equal to 1 to n modulus of ai raised to p. This one ci raised to p means modulus of ai raised to p, and we are taking the sigma summation on both sides. And also we know that the right means the numerator is like this: modulus of a1 raised to p plus modulus of a2 raised to p plus etc modulus of a n raised to p. Now consider in the denominator, it is also like that. Even the variable is j, after the summation it will be like that: modulus of a1 raised to p plus modulus of 2 raised to p plus etc modulus of a n raised to p. That is numerator by denominator. Since they both the numerator and denominator are same, we will get 1. Similarly, sigma equal to 1 to n di raised to q is also 1. Now our first next aim is to prove that sigma I equal to 1 to n ci di is less than or equal to 1. For that we claim ci di is less than or equal to 1 by p into ci raised to p plus 1 by q into di raised to q. So we have to first, to prove the result, we have to prove sigma equal to 1 to n ci di less than or equal to 1. To prove that inequality, we first prove that ci di is less than or equal to 1 by p into ci raised to p plus 1 by q into di raised to q, where ci and di are mentioned above. Okay. Now to prove this inequality, we are considering a figure. Here we have a figure like this, and this is y equal to x raised to p minus 1, and we are considering 2 points ci and di in xy plane. Okay, and we are considering a graph. Okay, and S2 is the area between that y equal to di and the curve, and ci is S1 is an area between that curve and x-axis, as mentioned in this figure. Now we are considering the function y is equal to x raised to p minus 1. To find the area S1, we know that it is enough to integrate the function x raised to p minus 1 between 0 to ci. Hence, by integrating, we will get S1 is equal to ci raised to p by p. Similarly, to get S2, we can integrate from 0 to di, and we know that if we are considering this one, if we are considering the limit points on the integration from 0 to di, that is along y axis, we have to consider a function in y. Since y is equal to x raised to p minus 1, this x can be written like this: x is equal to y raised to q minus 1, and we are integrating from 0 to di y raised to q minus 1, and hence we will get the integration result as di raised to q by q. Now the summation S1 plus S2, that is the total area, this area plus this area, we are considering that is S1 plus S2, which is equal to ci raised to p by p plus di raised to q by q, which must be greater than or equal to that ci into di, the product of that two points. Then since we know that ci is a point on the x-axis and di is a point on the y-axis, which implies ci di is less than or equal to 1 by p ci raised to p plus 1 by q di raised to q from here. Okay, with this inequality, and the inequality holds only if di is equal to ci raised to p minus 1, which is clear by substituting di is equal to ci raised to p minus 1 in this inequality. Okay, now taking summation on both sides, the finite summation on both sides, we will get from this equation sigma I equal to 1 to n ci di is less than or equal to 1 by p sigma I equal to 1 to n ci raised to p plus 1 by q sigma I equal to 1 to n di raised to q. Okay, we have already proved that sigma I equal to 1 to n ci raised to p and 1 sigma I equal to 1 to n di raised to q are equal to 1. So we will get 1 by p plus 1 by q, which is clearly 1. That is sigma I equal to 1 to n ci di is less than or equal to 1. Now we already assumed different terms for ci and di, and substituting that terms for ci and di, that is ci is this sigma modulus of ai by sigma over j modulus of aj raised to p whole raised to 1 by p, and di is sigma I equal to 1 to n modulus of bi divided by sigma j equal to 1 to n modulus of bj raised to q whole raised to 1 by q. And not one thing, even the summation is over I or j, it is same, because in the numerator we are considering sigma I equal to 1 to n modulus of ai, which means modulus of a1 plus modulus of a2 plus etc modulus of a. In the denominator also it is modulus of a1 raised to p whole raised to 1 by p plus modulus of a2 raised to p whole raised to 1 by p, like that. Okay, so we need not put two variables on the summation. We can use only one variable, that is in the next line. It is sigma over I equal to 1 to n modulus of ai bi is less than or equal to a product of the required two terms, because these two terms can be taken into right side, and the numerator is sigma modulus of AI into sigma modulus of BI, which is nothing but sigma modulus of AI PI. That is, this inequality is satisfied for every finite set of sequences. Actually, sigma AI equal to 1 to n and sigma BI equal to 1 to n. So, as tending capital N to infinity, this is correct for an infinite series. Hence, this is our proof. And for a particular value of P and Q, that is P equal to 2 and Q equal to 2, we have this modulus of sigma k equal to 1 to infinity ak bk is less than or equal to sigma k equal to 1 to infinity modulus of ak bk less than or equal to sigma k equal to 1 to infinity, this is known as Short's inequality. Okay.